All right, I'm gonna do some of the problems you asked me about in class this morning and post that on the site. So this is number 19. 3 over n plus 1, 3n over n plus 1 equals 12 over n squared minus 1 plus n plus 4 over n minus 1. When I look at that, I can rewrite this with everything factored out. And when I do, I get 3n over n plus 1 equals 12. And I remember n squared minus 1, this is difference of two squares, n minus 1, n plus 1. So I rewrite that here, n minus 1, n plus 1, plus n plus 4 over n minus 1. What is my LCD? Because I need to clear my fractions. So my LCD is actually going to be, I have an n plus 1, an n minus 1, and n minus 1, n plus 1. So this one's pretty easy. It's just n minus 1 times n plus 1. So that's what I'm going to multiply everything by to clear my fractions. N minus 1, n plus 1. And so I'm going to multiply through every term. So that means I'm going to get 3n over n plus 1 times n minus 1, n plus 1 equals 12 over n minus 1, n plus 1 times n minus 1, n plus 1 plus n plus 4 over n minus 1 times n minus 1, n plus 1. So you can see I've distributed my LCD to every single term. I can cancel this and I end up with 3n is times n minus 1 equals, I can cancel both of these, 12 plus, I cancel the n minus 1s, n plus 4, n plus 1. Well, I've cleared my fractions. Now I need to multiply everything through. 3n squared minus 3n equals 12 plus n squared plus 4n plus n plus 4. Combining like terms, I get 3n squared minus 3n. I'm just going to concentrate on this side first. Equals, I'll put the n squared in front. N squared plus 5n plus 16. I've now combined all of my like terms. Now I'm going to set everything equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract out my n squared and get 2n squared. I'm going to subtract out my 5n, get minus 8n, and subtract out my 16 equals 0. To make my life easier, I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I will get n squared minus 4n minus 8 equals 0. Now this is where I try to factor and see if I can factor. And pretty soon I realize I'm going to fail because 2 times 4 is 8, but the difference is 2, not 4. 1 times 8 is 8, but the difference again is 7, not 4. So I can't do it this way. Instead, I'm going to have to use my quadratic formula. So not to confuse colors, I'm going to rewrite it here. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And that's how we're going to solve this and find out what our answers are. So negative b, negative 4, because b is negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 4 squared minus 4. A is 1, and C is negative 8 over 2 times A, which is 1. So what do I have? I have 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 32 over 2, which is going to give me 4 plus or minus the square root of 48 over 2. The square root of 48 becomes 4 plus or minus 48 is 3 times 16, if you remember, right? So this is square root of 3 times square root of 16. So it's going to become 4 square root of 3, right? Square root of 16 is 4, and I just keep the square root of 3, all over 2. 4 can be divided by 2. This 4 divided by 2, so I end up with 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3. And that is my answer. So that is the solution, the very long solution to number 19 and 12.7. Okay. Now you also asked me about number 36 in 12.6. So I'm going to do that for you. So this is 12.6, number 36. X minus 3 over x squared plus 9x plus 20 plus 5x over x plus 2 times 12 over x plus 4. So first thing is I have to factor this denominator, so I get x minus 3 over x plus 5, x plus 4, plus 5x times 12, so 60x over x plus 2, x plus 4. If you remember, these are multiplied, right? All right, so now I have to determine what my least common denominator is. And here I have an x plus 5, x plus 4. Here I have an x plus 2, x plus 4. So they have the x plus 4 in common. So that has to be one of them. So LCD, they have the x plus 4 in common. But I also have to make sure I add what they don't have in common, which is the x plus 2 and then the x plus 5. So my full LCD is going to be that. So to get to that LCD, I'm going to multiply this top and bottom by x plus 2 over x plus 2 to get the full LCD here. And this I'm going to multiply by x plus 5 over x plus 5. Okay. When I do that, on this numerator, I'm going to get x plus 2 times x minus 3 over my full denominator, which is x plus 2, x plus 4, x plus 5, plus on this side, I have 60x times x plus 5 over x plus 2 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. Because I now have a common denominator, I can add my numerator together. So here's my common denominator on the bottom, x plus 2, x plus 4, x plus 5. And the numerator I'm going to multiply out x plus 2 times x minus 3. So I'm going to get x squared plus 2x minus 3x is going to be just a negative x. So actually minus x. And then minus 6 plus, and multiplying this out, I get 60x squared plus 5 times 60 is 300. So 300x. My last step, I combine my like terms. So I have a 1x squared and a 60x squared, which means I get a 61x squared. I have a negative x and a 300x, so I get a 299x and a minus 6 all over x plus 2, x plus 4, x plus 5. Okay. All right, so that is 12.6, number 36, and there is one more that you asked me to do that I will finish, and then I will load this and you can look at it later. And that was number 32. And I believe this was a rate problem. I think it was somebody that you're running 6,000 meters and that you're going to do the first half So 6,000 meter race, and the first half of the race which is obviously going to be 3,000 meters, right? So that's going to be your distance. And your second half, because it's half, has to be 3,000 meters. And it says the first half you're running at you're running 50 meters per hour faster than the second half. So we don't know what the rate is. We're just going to call it R is the rate. But we know that the rate for this half is going to be R plus 50 because you're going 50, you're going faster by 50 in the first half of the race. Okay, so, and then we're told the total is 27 minutes, I believe. So we know the total time is 27 minutes. So we know the governing equation is distance equals rate times time. But we know that right now we're really talking about the time that the race took. And so we're going to put it in terms of t. And to get it in terms of t, we divide both sides by r. And we get t equals d over r. So t equals, now the d is 3,000 over the rate, which is r plus 50. For this is the first half of the race, right? So we're still keeping aligned first half, second half. In the second half, we have 3,000 meters over r, because of course he's going faster, so 50 faster at the first half of the race. We're also told, now I just set it equal to t, but we're told t is 27. So now I have an equation that I can solve. But I have a problem in that I have to get rid of my fractions, right? So I'm going to multiply by my LCD. And you can see that that LCD is going to be, so my LCD is going to be r times r plus 50. And I'm going to multiply that by my whole equation. So I'm going to multiply that by, let's see, 27 equals 3,000 over r plus 50 plus 3,000 over r. And when I distribute this r times r plus 50, on this side, I'm going to get 27r times r plus 50 equals, this r plus 50 and this one are going to cancel out, so 3,000r. And here, the r's are going to cancel out, and I'm going to get 3,000 times r plus 50. Multiplying everything through, I'm going to end up with, make sure I'm doing this all very correctly, 27r squared plus 1350r equals, when I get 3,000r and then this 3,000r is going to give me another 3,000r, so I'm going to end up with 6,000r, and then this 3,000 times 50, which is going to give me plus 150,000. Okay, when I simplify my equation and set everything equal to 0, I'm going to end up with 27r squared. And I'm going to subtract 6,000 here, so minus 4,650r minus 150,000 equals 0. The only way to finish solving this problem is to use the quadratic formula. And so I'm going to put this aside for a second and just draw my quadratic formula, which is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And I'm going to plug in the numbers I just found, which are, my b is 4650, plus or minus the square root of negative b squared, which is negative 4, let's see, 650 squared minus 4 times a, which is 27, times c, which is negative 150,000, over 2 times a, which is 27. When I work this out and I simplify, I will end up with 4650 plus or minus 6150 over 54, which will lead me to 10,800 over 54, which gives me 200 as my answer. 200 meters per hour is my rate. So what I wanted to find out was, what is my rate for R for the second half of the race? And so it's going to be 250 meters per hour for the first half of the race. So I have solved this, and just to know that if I had subtracted 4650 minus 6150, I'm going to get a negative number. So I can't use that number. Okay, so that is, that was, I think, number, actually I don't think I labeled it. I'll label it now. That was number 32 in 12.7. Okay, and that's it. So I will post that for you later, and if you want to take a look, and hopefully you'll understand it a little bit better. All right, guys, good luck on the test tomorrow.